Welcome to the Iferia TechCast, where we bring you all things science, engineering, technology, and innovation. I'm your host, Ezekiel Iferia, and today we are joined by Donald Pelles, a former mathematician and software developer who now applies a systematic engineering mindset to the architecture of the human unconscious. As a hypnotherapist with nearly 2 decades of experience, Donald has developed the Empowered Self Framework, a methodical protocol that helps individuals rapidly debug limiting beliefs, overcome anxiety, and rewrite deeply ingrained behavioral patterns. His work bridges the precision of logic with the transformative power of the subconscious mind. In this episode, we'll explore the code of consciousness, learn to recompile our mental software, and build a system for lasting positive change. So, Donald, it's an honor to welcome you to the show, and thank you very much for joining us.
It's an honor to be here, Ezekiel.
It's great to have you here, indeed. So, let's get started. So, your career path is quite fascinating to me. Mathematics professor, then a software developer, and now hypnotherapist. So, what was the underlying function or common curiosity that drove you through these seemingly different fields?
I started out in mathematics. I came up at a time when United States, we had the National Science Foundation. It was encouraging young people to go into science and math because there was this huge embarrassment that the Soviet Union had put up Sputnik and they were the first into space. So I kind of rode that wave. I went to graduate school on the Uncle Sam's dime, and then I got a job as a mathematics professor. Mathematics was easy for me and it seemed natural. And only a few years later, I realized, is this really what I want to be doing?
Mm,
So over the next few years, you know, finished my contract and eventually I found my way into software development. I did that for 28 years. And little before the end of that time, I was Googling, I Googled hypnosis for some reason. I don't know why. And I ended up on this website, downloaded she called it an introductory trance. And within about less than 15 minutes, I'd stopped a habit that I'd been unable to break for 60 years or so.
mm,
So I was pretty impressed. I thought, wow, not a terrible habit. I was a knuckle cracker, but I'd not been able to stop. So, and I did with that one session. So I thought, wow, what else can we do with this? And a few months later, I ended up taking a class in hypnotherapy, and I absolutely loved it. And I thought, well, this is my next career. That was 2008. So let's see, I was 62 at the time, and here I am 20 years later.
all right. That's indeed an interesting journey, Donald. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. So, nearly 20 years ago, that hypnosis session changed your life. So, what was the specific logical problem that you were trying to solve at that time, and what was, the unexpected?
Well, I mean, the initial thing was that was stopping that habit. I just realized that there were lots of possibilities here, and this might be something that I would want to do. I had previously, like years before, been doing something called reevaluation counseling.
Mm,
I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's a peer counseling paradigm where you pair up with the partner and you exchange time. And maybe I'm the counselor for 1 hour, you're the client, and then you switch. And when you're the counselor, you just encourage the client to talk. And the idea is they might talk about something and start crying. You would encourage that. The idea is that emotional release, discharge, crying, laughing, and so forth is healing. And that worked. That worked very well. But when I first started hypnosis, I thought, wow, this is so much faster.
mm, mm.
And so it wasn't the first time I'd done something on this order, is what I'm saying.
All right, all right. So, say when a client comes to you stuck in anxiety or a bad habit, so how do you first assess the state of their unconscious? And I'd like to know, what are you listening for?
Well, usually the first thing I will say is, do you have any pain right now, physical pain? So, Ezekiel, do you have any pain right now?
Well, I do have some physical pain on my muscles from the little home workout I did a couple of days ago.
Okay. So it's good pain.
Yes, kind of.
I can show you how. Would you like it to feel better?
Mm-hmm, sure.
Okay. Uh, which arm?
See, I think
Right arm?
it's more like both arms, but
Both
it's
arms. Let's
more
choose
more
one.
prominent on the left arm.
Okay. On the left. Close your eyes and go inside. Just go inside that muscle and
Mm-hmm.
tell me what color is the pain.
Color of pain.
Yeah.
I am
Just
not
go inside. Tell me
exactly.
what color it is inside there.
So how do I go inside?
Just imagine. Just pretend you can do it.
Mm,
Tell me what color it is inside there.
let's see, an orange red color.
Okay. What would be a better color? What would feel comfortable?
Say green.
Okay. So let the orange red, just invite it. You're not forcing it. Invite it to change maybe to a reddish brown, and then nod to me when you've got it, when it's reddish brown. And now a brown, full brown,
Mm-hmm.
and now a greenish brown,
Mm-hmm.
and all the way to green. Just the right shade of green, and spread that green all around in there and just let it soak in. I'll give you a few moments to do that into the bones, the muscles, all the tissues, the nerves even.
Mm.
Okay. And now open your eyes and tell me how it feels.
Well, indeed, there's a difference. Yes,
Yeah.
there is
So
a
was that
difference.
hypnosis? Was that hypnosis? Did I hypnotize you?
Well, I don't really know the terminology to use to
Okay.
put it.
So you hesitated when you started. You said, how do I do that? Can
Yes.
you really go inside your arm and see what color it is? Not
Well,
really, right?
yeah, I
You
really
don't you
can.
don't
But
have eyes in there.
you made me imagine myself doing it.
I made you so we went into your imagination.
Yes.
And then the pain, we have 5 sensory modalities:
Mm-hmm.
kinesthetic feeling, visual, auditory, hearing, and smell and taste. When I asked you what color the pain was, you moved it from the feeling realm into the visual.
Mm.
And then you changed it there, all with your imagination. And somehow that reflects back on the feeling. So yeah, I'd say it was a form of hypnosis. So
Okay.
typically this is the first thing I do with a client. So what happens there? Well, they've already done some hypnosis. I call it's a convincer. So now they're thinking, oh, maybe this is going to help me. Maybe this is going to work. And then we talk about hypnosis. I explain that hypnosis is an altered state and that we all go in and out of altered states all the time, trance states. For instance, when you're really deep into a book, you're shutting everything else out. You're in your own little bubble with the book. That's a trance. Or when you're driving, for instance, and you're driving along and all of a sudden you realize you've gone several miles and you don't know how you got there. Most people can relate to that. Or you're watching a movie, right? So to enjoy the movie, you have to put yourself in a certain state, which is really kind of a light trance. So I'm explaining hypnosis in terms of things people are familiar with.
Mm.
And we'll do a little bit more of that. And then I will teach them. It's really a blend of self hypnosis and meditation. I call it the zone. By the way, it's on my YouTube channel. It's a video. My YouTube channel is Hypnosis Silver Spring. So you can go in there and watch it, the zone. It's about 7 minutes. So having done that, most of my clients are able to go back there by themselves. The way I explain it is it's like you find this switch in your brain and you just flip that switch and go there. That's really what we're after. So you can take yourself into this altered hypnotic state, meditative state, if you like, whenever you want. So that's kind of how I start my session. What was the question?
Yes, you've pretty much answered the question, and that was more of a practical approach to answering the question, Donald. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a great response. And so, like, from your dual perspective, uh, with the unconscious and also, the logic part of things, coming from a tech background and all of that. So, I'd like to know what's the misconception that technically minded people have about how their own mind works that keeps them stuck in a loop of willpower and failure.
That's an interesting question. I think for one thing, it varies by the individual. Not everybody's like that. Mathematics in particular, math and software development, there's a creative side to it. Mathematics, for instance, on the professional mathematician level, there's two aspects. There's intuition. You have to intuit, guess in a way,
Mhm.
educated guess what might be something new that you want to develop or improve or to prove. And then the logical aspect is to go in and construct a rigorous proof of it. Well, it's similar with software development, right? You have an idea. We want to do such and such. We want this to happen, that to happen. But then you have to actually code it. You have to make it happen. You have to test it. You have to modify it. So I don't think there's a rigid division between, and some of that's always on the unconscious level. Do you know who was the guy? The guy that I can't think of his name. I think he was a Frenchman. This back in the 19th century. Oh, this was a chemist, I think.
Mhm.
And he was trying to figure out something about organic chemistry. And he had a dream
Yes, yes. I think
of a serpent
August
eating its
Kekule.
tail. Yes, yes. And he realized that, oh, this is the solution to my problem. This is the shape of that molecule, right?
Yes,
But where
Benzene.
did he get the insight? In a, right, benzene, in a dream. That's unconscious. So in a way, I don't, some hypnotists do. They talk about the unconscious mind, the conscious mind. I really don't make that distinction. Some things in our mental process are more conscious than others. But so some things are really not on the level of consciousness, they're going on underneath the conscious level, but they're all degrees. And what's conscious can become unconscious, like when you first learn a new task, right? You first learn to drive, right? You're very conscious of everything you do. But then it moves down to the unconscious level. So you're driving maybe too much unconscious. So you're driving without really consciously thinking about it. And sometimes things that are on the unconscious level can become conscious. So I don't make a rigid distinction there.
All right, Donald. I haven't been a math professor yourself. You understand, proofs and evidence. So I'd like to know, what does proof or validation look like in your work with a client? So is it like a change of measurable behavior, shift in a feeling or something else?
It's a shift. Yeah. They get a shift and issues are resolved. So, for instance, this may be oversimplifying, but I might have a client who I see a lot of people who have trouble driving over bridges, especially high bridges. I don't know if do you have any high bridges in Lagos?
Yeah, yes,
or
there are.
Yeah, and some people are very afraid of that and they just can't do it. I think it's a perceptual thing. They're all that space and they just kind of fall into it. So I have something it's called wholeness work. I didn't develop it, but I use it a lot. Wholeness work. So I'll ask somebody maybe when they first start thinking about driving over that bridge, and then I'll say, where do you feel that feeling? They'll say, oh, it's in my chest. And then We go through a whole procedure that's based on physical sensations and the perceptions of the physical sensations. We get to the end of that procedure. I say, now go back to when you were thinking about driving over that bridge. What's that like now? They say, well, that really doesn't bother me so much now. So that's the validation. That's the proof. Is the actual. And then sometimes, especially with a phobia, I like to test. So I'm in Maryland in the United States. We have a long bridge over the Chesapeake Bay. It's several miles long, and a lot of people freak out over that bridge. So you can go on YouTube and search for a video of driving over the Chesapeake Bay Bridge. You can even find a video of it in rain or snow. So I might, once I've worked with a client, I might say, now go on YouTube and watch that video. And how do you react to that video? If there's no reaction, okay, it worked. I've worked with women I worked with a woman who had a fear of cats. I arranged after the session, I found somebody in the neighborhood. This was an in-person session. I found somebody in the neighborhood that had cats, and after the session, we went over to that person's house and with her husband and daughter, and she sat there. This is my client, sat there petting a cat. She said, "This is the first time in 20 years I've touched a cat," and she was fine. That's the proof. That's the proof. So I guess I could, with my background as a software engineer, I could say you have to test if you can. Certainly, that's true with a phobia. With anxiety, like if I have somebody that's having trouble with with speaking in public, well, what's the test there?
To go speak in
If they
public.
give a speech and they're comfortable, okay, we're done. If not, we need to do more work.
All right, Donald, that was indeed a great response. So, for the students or developers in their early careers listening who live in their analytical, conscious minds most of the time. So, what's one simple self-hypnosis exercise you could teach them, to help calm the system and access a more creative and less anxious state?
You want me to show you now?
Well, you can maybe
Do we
describe.
have time? Okay, well, okay, I call this the zone. I mentioned it earlier, but so the first step is I have them close their eyes, kind of defocus their mind. Now, I know a lot of meditation protocols want you to quiet your mind. I'm not saying that, and they don't usually tell you how. I just say defocus so you're not thinking about anything in particular, and then take yourself inside and occupy all the space inside your body. Simon, close your eyes and go ahead and do that.
Mm-hmm.
Just close your eyes, occupy. Just get a sense of being present everywhere in your body all at the same time. From your head down to your toes, all the way down to your fingertips, every place, every part. When you do that, what's that feel like? What's the physical feeling that you get?
More like a relaxed, less anxious state.
Yeah, exactly. And then I build on that. I say, holding on to that, get a feeling of expansion, like you're a bubble expanding out into the universe in all directions. You see, and by now, you've got a nice little trancy state coming on, right? And now double that feeling and double it again, going deeper. And then I have you say a little mantra in your mind. I live with a happy heart, a peaceful mind, and a playful spirit over and over. And I might have them do that for a couple minutes.
Mm.
And when it's time to come back, shout to yourself in your mind, I deserve to be happy, healthy, and successful. And then just bring yourself back and open your eyes. You like that?
Yeah.
That was a very brief demonstration, but for most people that works. For most people that works. And for most people after they've experienced that, I can just say, now just go back into that state. And a lot of people can. Sometimes they need a little more guidance, and I assign my clients to do that at least 3 times a day. And by the way, it's a nice way to put yourself to sleep. You
Yes.
just take yourself into the zone with the intention of staying there indefinitely, and you will pass into sleep.
Yes. Yes. It sure feels like one way to fall asleep indeed. All
I
right.
use it myself. Yeah.
Great. So, Donald, I'd like to reserve one question on innovation for every guest I have a conversation with on this podcast. I like to hear their different perspective of what the word innovation mean to everybody I have a conversation with. So, tell us, what does the word innovation really mean to you, and how does it relate to your field, your work in the context of healing and human potential?
I think it can mean coming up with something entirely new and different. But below that level even, it can mean putting existing things together in new ways. So with my empowered self protocol, not protocol, framework, none of it is by itself that new and different. The zone I learned from a person named Michael Elner. I elaborated it, I added to it, but it was there. I do a power self exercise that I also learned from Michael, but again, I've elaborated that, I've added to it. But then in addition to that, that kind of hypnosis, self hypnosis component, I added core transformation developed by Connie Ray Andreas in the late 80s and wholeness work. So that combination of those three things, and there's some other things I do that came from NLP. I didn't invent any of those from scratch. I either took something somebody else had and maybe developed it more, but then I put them all together. And I think the combination is really innovative. When I say that, most people, most hypnotherapists do not work the same way that I do. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yes, yes. All right. So,
It's true in literature. You know, Shakespeare did not invent the 5-act play with iambic pentameter. He developed it to a level that no one had seen before. He made wonderful innovations in the way he uses language and so forth, but the the structure, the basics were already there.
all right, Donald. So, finally, for our listeners who are ready to explore more, so where should they go to find your consultation, download your guide, or perhaps connect with you?
Yeah, so I do usually with someone who's thinking about working with me, I will do a 20, 30-minute consultation. It's over the phone or Zoom. It's free. And in that, we talk about what's bothering you, what you want to change, what are the issues. We talk a little bit about how I work, the way we've talked today. And then if the person wants to go forward, we schedule the first session. We talk about how many sessions, which is usually typically with a new client, I'll do 3 or 4 90-minute sessions. Very different from psychotherapy where people just go week after week indefinitely. And I think that's because what I do is more effective than most psychotherapists. So we'll talk about how many sessions you might want to do, talk about the cost, and then if you want to go forward, we'll schedule the first session. That's one, the consultation. So I have a link that I think you're going to give people to schedule a
Yeah.
consultation with me, and there's no obligation. We just talk, and if you don't want to go forward, that's fine. The other thing is for people who are really not really ready to schedule an actual hypnotherapy session with me, I offer a guide. It's a free guide to, I think I call it the empowered self, like my framework. And it's not that long. It's like 14, 15, or maybe it's 20 pages of different issues and ways that I work with them, and also their objections in there. Like there'll be a page that, what if I don't have enough time? And then I discuss that. And what if this? What if that? What if I don't really believe in hypnosis? So people can download that. It just gives them more information. And my hope, of course, is that at some point you'll want to work with me.
All right. All right. Donald, it's been such an interesting time having a conversation with you, and I am excited to have you on the show today.
And thank you for this opportunity. I really enjoyed meeting you and talking with you.